And we are live. Jay, Jared, Sinatra, welcome to the podcast, my friend. How are you?
All types of names, all types of names, all good, all good. How are
Yeah,
you?
I feel like I'm good, thank you. I feel like you've got more nicknames than I do because I've had my fair share growing up. And
Yeah.
Sinatra is probably my favorite one, though, the one that you have. So it stuck by you. How did you even get that nickname?
You know what? Listen, as a fellow Iranian, although I'm what am I? Remember that picture of us and our friend two and a half. So I'm half, you're full. But everyone just gets the surname wrong.
Yeah.
They get the surname wrong. They get the sentiment wrong. I went off in a different direction, and it's just something that was easy for people to remember, and it was cool. Like you said,
Hey, nothing
you're
cooler than Sinatra.
that's it. There you go. Fly me to the moon.
I'm talking about you, of course. Like the singer, he's all right. He's all right. He's okay. Not too bad.
No
But thanks for coming on, man. You're
worries.
one of my favorite people on the planet. You know this already. I just really love the kind of, like you said, you're Iranian as well, but you've had a totally different exposure to being Iranian than I have, for example. Me growing up in the Middle East and you growing up here, like I would consider you more English than Iranian. Although no, I'm
Yeah.
sticking to everyone that's Iranian. I'm holding on tight. You know, you're representing the flag.
Be
But
careful, be careful. No, I'm joking, I'm joking. Yeah, no, of course. Everyone's experiences are different. Obviously, we are, well, in London, we are a multicultural society, but yeah, born and bred in London, mother from British and Italian descent, and father, obviously, as you know,
yes,
Iranian. So there's the mix, and then that's why you get what you get with me. A bit of
it's an
everything.
awesome mix. It's an awesome
Yeah.
mix, man. I love I just love this generation that we are in, where people are from different backgrounds, and it's a mix. You know,
Mm.
you've experienced different types of cultures. With kind of it makes you understand and have an interest into different parts of the world. I think that's awesome. But one key thing I suppose I wanted to start with is you growing up in London. What was that like? Like what's the London experience been like for you in the area you grew up in, the friends that you've made? How would you summarize it? It's a bit of a weird question to ask, but what's the
Mm.
experience been like for you?
This is like great. I've got you know, London comes with many opportunities, regardless of, forget all this stuff around people's heritage and stuff. If you're born and bred in London, I suppose the first thing you say is you're a Londoner, right?
Absolutely.
Um, but London is massive. Let's not forget. So, for instance, when I used to come and meet you in Dubai, and we would literally we could spend the day in all of the different great areas of Dubai, and you've seen it all. I don't think you can say the same. You can't say the same for London, and I think, and you can look at it as and in as many different angles as you want to. But yeah, it's a fantastic place to sort of grow up. Many opportunities, many learning curves, which is always important. But yeah, like I said at the start, right? It's I have no friend that is the same in London.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is the diversity where, as you know, if you go to certain places of the world, everyone mimics, their neighbor, their friend, their foe. And so that's probably the things that I would say is most relevant for
Yeah,
for
I
that
really
question.
like that about London. I love the
Yeah,
fact that everyone is different. It's such a melting pot. And
that's it.
again, coming from that Dubai background, which Dubai is awesome in its own way, and I feel like that has become a melting pot as well. I mean, you meet people from everywhere in Dubai.
Oh
It's
yeah,
got
for
that
sure.
feel to it.
I'm thinking about when was it? When did I first come out there and meet up with you guys? Probably as early as
2010, I believe.
2019.
2009,
Well,
2010, something in those lines.
yeah, there we go. Yeah, I was thinking short term. Yeah, yeah, 2008, 2009, around then. And yeah, you yourself will know every time you go back, it's completely different. So I feel like
Every three
places
months.
like places like that are finding their feet, and in the long term, it will establish itself, so that it's a bit more renowned around a certain sort of culture. But certainly, it is becoming a melting pot, and you can see by all the people that sort of ran off to Dubai when the restrictions were here, you know. So it's
I don't
a
know what you're
home
talking about,
right
sir.
right right now it's a home from home.
I have no idea what you're saying. I did no such thing. I don't know
not,
anyone that's did such a thing as well. We all
not
stayed in
guilty.
lockdown here.
Not guilty. That's it. That's it.
So, one key thing, which is besides the many other things we get along with, is our love for the martial arts, specifically things like boxing. And
Yeah.
you are a very, you're a very good amateur boxer back in the day.
Mm,
And I obviously took the MMA route initially.
mm.
So I wanted to kind of like check with you, what was the reason? What drove you to boxing? How did you get started in boxing?
Yeah, it's a unique story. So, in the sense that, um, to be honest with you, me and my close friends, you know, you've met many of them, but we used to love going to the gym again around those same years, 2006, 7, 8. We got on the hype, let's say, early, right?
Yeah,
Um, and yeah, it was good, but I suppose you when you get into a gym, when you get into a fitness environment, you find your strengths and your weaknesses, right? So, um, although I would say I'm an all rounder, there's certain things in the gym in terms of let's say best performance that I'm not drawn to just the sort of heavy weights or just the cardio or just XYZ. So with let's go boxing. With boxing was a new opportunity for me to explore once I had established myself in a fitness environment. And the way it came about is similarly to how you got into martial arts, right? Which is someone was holding a white collar event, and one of the coaches that was coaching for the white collar event approached me actually at work. This guy used to come into my bank, really happy guy, amazing personality. And then I was helping him with an inquiry, and he said, by the way, you look like you're in good shape. Come down to the gym and try boxing out. And then I went down there, and you know how it is. You just fall in love with it straight away, right? It's an
the
environment
sweet
that
science.
again exactly not no at that stage there definitely wasn't any sweet science, uh, but the like you said, when someone walks into an actual boxing gym, so forget about a gym with some weights and a boxing bag, right? There's some progression going on, but in an actual amateur boxing club or a boxing club, whatever, there's a different sort of environment that you walk into, right?
100%.
Most of the time, it's the hostility that you're drawn to. You're trying to overcome those barriers. But yeah, like I said, got in there and yeah, fell in love with it, and also the people, right? So the people that are in the gym that I was drawn to, but then also when you go to any boxing gym, you get very similar characters, you know. So yeah, it's a fantastic place to go and learn something new. And then you've got all the physical advantages as well, the
Yeah,
the mental advantages of boxing. But that's what drew me in. And then thank you for your compliment. But I think that it's a forever learning game, right? So I don't think
everything
anyone
is.
exactly, unless of course you make it to the top, right? And it's fair to say the people that make it to the top, if they stick around, even better. But once you get to the top, you should celebrate that, right? Because it's a very competitive system. It's like I know you've got a passion for football, right? You will know in any geography that if you're trying to get into a football team, even though it's a team sport, you know that another 100, 200, 1,000, 3,000 people just like you are going for that same position, right? So on the naked eye, someone could say, "Oh, Heerbz a fantastic footballer," but then next door there's someone better, or up the street there's someone better. Do you understand? So it's a constant learning game, but we should also celebrate those who make it to the top because that takes a lot of hard work and effort.
For sure, for sure. Couldn't agree more. There's a few things just on what you were saying. So yes, the feel at boxing gyms is totally different, and um, So someone that does MMA, I mean, one of the first people I really looked up to was GSP, George St. Pierre. And what I loved about him was he would go train with a boxing coach and a full-on boxing gym to improve his boxing. He'd go train with the Canadian wrestling team, Olympic wrestling team, to improve his wrestling. So he would go to all these different areas rather than being in that one MMA gym and kind of getting a, I don't know, 70% effective training on each area. So I applied that when I was living in Milton Keynes, and I found a boxing gym, I found an MMA gym, and I found a jiu-jitsu gym. And I was going to all these different places. But I'd been training kickboxing for a long time in Dubai. And then when I went to a boxing gym in the UK, you really notice a difference. For example, you go to a kickboxing gym in Dubai, the instructor comes, hey, how's it going? You know, they put more focus on you as the newbie in the environment. You know, they want to make sure you enjoy it, you come back. In a UK boxing gym, at least what I've experienced, no one gives a crap, you know, especially when you're new. That and the first session I went there, no one even spoke to me, none of the coaches. They just said, okay, go shadow box in the corner. They just threw me in the
That's
corner. Then the next session I came back and they threw me in the ring to spar my second session. And I still don't know anything at that point. So I got my ass kicked, as you would expect. But that I feel like after that, when I started showing up, is when they started putting more of an effort in me. They're like, okay, this guy isn't just here for like 1 or 2 sessions to look good or anything. He actually wants to learn. And that's when I got more focus. Then fast forward many years later, and I'm talking about the gym that you introduced me to in London, which I really enjoyed going there. At that point, I was, you know, working in the financial services industry, showing up. But when you would show up into the gym, regardless of me coming in a suit or that next person coming in with a tracksuit, everyone is the same. As soon as you put your gloves on, as soon as like everyone's changed, no one cares where you're from, what you do. Uh, Granted, everyone wants to take each other's heads off while they're in the ring together, but then afterwards, there's that mutual respect that you feel between everyone, and I really love that. I was really attracted to that, and it's just what another thing that you said is overcoming adversity. It's a constant battle of overcoming adversity in UK boxing gyms. It's got that rough feel to it where you know, it's sink or swim. And I really, you know, I was drawn to that a lot. Then the other point you mentioned about the football, there's a massive element of luck, which everyone agrees to in anything that you do, whether it's your career, if you're a footballer, boxer, whatever. That one person might be in the room at that one time to specifically see you outperform someone else that's been performing well all season, apart from that one game. So that's why I'm a big advocate of like, okay, hard work might not necessarily get you recognized. There's a lot of people that work hard and didn't get to where they want to get to in life, but hard work increases your chances of getting lucky. That's one of the things I'm really, really adamant on, and I fully believe in that. So, yeah, boxing gyms are awesome, man. And as you know, as you've cornered me, I have had a fight here as well, which I really enjoyed. But
couple of fights, a
yeah, a couple
couple
of
of
fights
fights,
here.
and again, you know, everyone was, if we're talking about those experiences, everyone was immensely proud of the effort you put in to get yourself, firstly, you know, into a position where you can have a fight, right? Because again, it is a big thing. It's very, very different, right? To be fit, healthy, um, and then step into a boxing ring, which starts to draw, you know, from the adrenaline that builds up inside you. It draws from all those fitness reserves that you may have had already and exposes you to a completely new experience. So I was having some
Absolutely.
fun. I was having some fun with one of my friends yesterday, actually, in the sense that this guy is a machine, right? When I say machine, I don't speak about it lightly. Like, so he'd call me up randomly and say, look, let's go for a run. I say, okay, let's cool, let's go. 20K, let's do it, right? This isn't your casual, you know, like let's do a 5K, have a chat sort of guy, right? And whenever I take him into a boxing ring, say you do sparring, whatever, you see the anxiety all over his face, right? And the anxiety causes you then to use up the energy reserves that on a normal occasion, in a normal fitness test, right, he'd be passing with flying colors. So it
Yeah.
just gives you a sort of insight into where you have to take yourself to get yourself match fit, right? So again, that's why I say I take my hat off to you. Um, there's a
Appreciate
few
that.
things things you touched on, right, which is worth exploring, particularly for people that potentially could be interested, looking at the younger generation, but also the older generation, right? Because I
I'm
got
going to
into
cut.
boxing.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you one
Yeah,
second. One
yeah,
very important thing I forgot to actually say is, ladies and
yeah.
gentlemen, Jared, just to give you some background, Jared is a banker slash he's got his own fitness company, Sinatra Fitness. And
Mm,
obviously, as I mentioned, he's had his whole history in boxing.
mm.
So this is why he does have the expertise he does in the things that we're discussing. Please continue. Sorry
Yeah,
about that.
no, that's cool. Again, expertise is a, how many layers are there to an onion? You're always learning, right? So for you, obviously, I appreciate the positive language, but you're always learning, right? That's why you see most of the best boxing coaches in the program, they've been around for an awful long time, right?
Yeah,
These dudes with the gray hair, the battle scars, one example comes to mind, like, Freddie Roach, for example. How long has he been in the game? How many superstars have been through his hands, right? So without starting to compare coaches and all that business, but it's a continuous learning journey. And I suppose you can apply that to life in any sort of industry or craft. But the thing that you touched on, right? Let's go back to them, because people, if they want to go into boxing, martial arts, whatever, probably the difference between your experience in Dubai and your experience in the UK is, again, unknown to me. In that part of the world anyway, probably no one does anything for free, right? So that coach that you had was potentially very well paid, or at least had a standard of living, which meant that work for him was optional. Let's just give that persona to
sure.
that gentleman. Yeah, the coaches in the UK, again, from my experiences, everything is done on a voluntary basis, right? So if you look at when sort of there's no restrictions on attendance, if you look at most boxing gyms on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday night, even on a weekend, they're packed, heaving with people from the beginner spectrum right through to the kids that know exactly what they're doing, right? And that's boys and girls. So from a coach's mindset, they're almost seeing you as a number. Yeah, you're another number. You're number 39 to walk in the gym today. You're number 42 to walk into the gym. Until you give that number some character, like like you said, you keep showing up. You jump into the ring even though you don't have much experience, and you take on those hurdles, those battles. They see something in your character, which then they feel like they could have some impact on. They could influence something about you to make you better. Yeah, but ultimately, the 3-4 hours they spend with you in the gym isn't going to create a world beater, or an area champion, or someone that's going to be the best of the bunch in the gym. That's going to be you taking those nuggets of advice and instruction, and then replicating that at home, or replicating that in your own time. So then you go to your bit that you spoke about around hard work,
Yeah,
and how hard work can give you that edge around, then you said luck, right? So that's the coach's thing, and then that's the bit about what you can do to change the factor. Now the other thing is that in a boxing ring, the way I see it anyway is it's an equal playing field, right? In the sense that whatever your background, whatever your situation in life, as long as you come into that boxing ring with the right conduct, yeah, like you said, you'll rarely see whether you've got someone that's on the outside of the ring. They could be mixed up in a real bad environment, yeah. And I've had some of them, myself in my early days of putting together these shows and what, but they still treat the boxing ring with an element of respect. They don't bring any of that in there.
agreed.
Likewise, suit and tie people that people think, oh, because he's got a suit and tie, there's an opportunity for me here. I can see a weakness because they live a certain life, whatever. Equally, they can shock you because in the ring they become something completely different. And so, like I said, this is the beautiful thing about boxing, but probably from your experience, martial arts, mixed martial arts, you know, in a jiu-jitsu gym, in a kickboxing gym, you're going to have these similar characters from different backgrounds, again stressing that men and women from different scales of ability, and that's what again sort of makes these environments unique. And like you said, fight or flight, sink or swim, you have to go through the transition. And not and the thing is, it's important that you touch on that, because you know, not everyone has those. I was again very fortunate. I started very late, at 22, 23. That's when I walked into a boxing gym for the first time, right? And started actually training like I was gonna prepare for a fight. But um, you know, these characters that you walk in, these coaches, they don't always make an impression on you. So then you go away and you have your own self-doubts about the persona, your persona. What have I not done to catch their eye? And sometimes it will take you 2 months to get back in that gym again, because you've got to overcome those battles. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it has those effects. But like I said, that's why I think it's so important that everyone who's into this sport, when you recognize the people that climb all the way to the top, the amount of work that's gone into that, I'm never into people say, you know, that's a rubbish champion, or you know, that guy doesn't deserve to be where he is, because most certainly they do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. On battles, by the way, I wanted to, sorry, just one quick thing I do want to do is I noticed
You putting nice filters on us. What are you doing?
uh wish no, I want to move our screens next to each other. Now it seems that I've lost my tech tech skills. They're the ones I
Oh,
never had, basically. Oh,
oh, that's a nice suit.
thank you. Okay, give me 1 second. By the way, have you got headphones on? I mean, have
No,
you got headphones with you?
no, why? Why?
Uh, because I think I can hear myself slightly. Ah, there we go. I found it. There we go. That's much better.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Nothing's
So
changed my side, but if it suits you your side better, yeah.
no, no, it's better. Like you can see both of us together here from my side.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah, for the video. Good.
cool.
Um, on battles, that's one key thing you mentioned a few times, like mental battles specifically is what I wanted to dive into.
Mm.
Is so there people do not understand, you know, that there's such a large portion of people that say, okay, boxing is tough, you know, you need to be a tough guy to get into boxing. Mike Tyson had a great quote about this. It's like tough guys get, I know they get destroyed and stuff going to the gym. You need to be smart for boxing, but ignore the smarts, ignore that tough mentality. Of course you need to be tough as well, but mental toughness is the main thing that I want to discuss. It's this whole kind of world that people living their day-to-day lives, or people that even watch the sport. Yeah, a lot of boxing fans, let's say, or fighting fans, they don't know the mental roller coaster fighters go through before a fight. I mean, holy shit, that's probably the thing that I'm addicted to the most, is the fact that there's so much fear, and you're thinking about getting embarrassed in front of your friends. You're constantly fighting negative thoughts when you go to sleep. So this has happened regardless of any fight I've been in. I've been going obviously tougher when I've been in a full-time job, because you're clocking in and clocking out of your job. In the back of your head, you're like, oh shit, I'm gonna go fight in front of a few hundred people in a few weeks. There's a good chance, you know, like there's a chance I might get knocked out. But then instantly you override that thought and you're like, no, I'm gonna F this guy up, you know, like there's no way I'm not gonna lose. You start giving yourself Tyson talk and hyping yourself up, because you can't allow negativity to creep inside. Now, one thing I've connected really well between the fighting world and the outside world is I apply this to anything else in life, and it's helped me so much. For example, job interviews. People tend to get nervous in job interviews. I just don't, because in my head it's like I've walked in front of hundreds of people, in front of my friends, in front of strangers, and I've gone into this ring with someone that's dedicated the last couple of months to getting better, to kick my ass in front of all these people. So that's a different level of stress. Plus the added element of like people have paid for money to buy tickets to come see me. So there's that added pressure as well. And it's going to be uploaded on YouTube. So there's a bunch of people watching it there. And just generally, you don't want to lose a fight. A fight is a fight. So that's at my, what would you call it? Was it blue collar, white collar, whatever the level was that I fought at? Um, that's only at that level. So think about the professionals and the people like, first person that's coming to my mind is Tyson Fury, that has fought in front of this many millions of people watching live, and then that many thousands of people within a stadium or a great boxing kind of location. It's tremendous stress. So that's why the relief after that, I can only imagine once you win, and winning a fight is a great feeling, especially when you do it in front of this many people. It's a very addictive drug, unfortunately, or fortunately. Um, I wanted to dive into that mental warfare a little bit and just get your thoughts on what were some of the thoughts that you went through before fights, and what do you think of this whole thing? Because so many people don't know. They don't know this process.
Mm. Yeah, it's like, where do you start, right? So you've gone from, you've set a scene there that transpires across multiple years, or completely different um ends of the spectrum, right? So when you mention someone like Tyson Fury doesn't get thrust straight into the situation where he's boxing in front of 100,000, 80,000, 60,000 people live, and then millions of people at home, right? It's a journey that he goes on before he gets to that stage. So each time he fights, um, he'll be banking that experience, and his body, his head, his mind, his coach, his education, his maturity in the fight game. It slowly but surely they work themselves into the situation where that becomes the norm, and that's what they have to do, right? Because
Yeah.
it can't be every time you fight on those stages that you're mentally and physically going through this this anxious experience, or nerves are being, and that's why it's very rare that you see people on these stages that haven't had a very 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 accomplished or experienced amateur career. There's few people that get away with not having that background and making it to the top of the game, but there's very very few, right?
Yeah.
um if you look at the people that get into the boxing at a young age, right? So I know you're a big Canelo fan. look
Massive.
at how young Look at how young Canelo got into the pro game. So um the age actually
Was he
of
17, 18? He was very
yeah,
young.
well, he wasn't. Yeah, so I was thinking more 16, 17,
Possibly. Yeah.
like around that age anyway. But if you can imagine boxing professionally from that age, no one would have known anything about him until he started to get to the dizzy heights that he's been at for the last 7 to 10 years, right? Although Canelo is the face of boxing, he's actually been at the top of it for quite a while now, right?
He has.
Certainly the most 5 years, right? And the only blemish on his record is against probably one of the best fighters of all time, right? So,
Triple G.
so, huh?
Oh wait, sorry. That one he actually by decision did win, but of
So,
course Floyd Mayweather.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But
Controversial people.
controversial. But this is it. The sport is that as well. Whenever a fight goes to decision, all of a sudden boxing becomes very subjective. It's very easy to judge the fight game when someone gets knocked out, but when both fighters make it to the end, and it's close, whether you're a sort of just a sort of armchair fan or a really detailed expert, it becomes very subjective and very opinion based. So
Yeah.
that particular thing is interesting as well. But going back to the question that you asked, generally speaking, they work their way into that environment. It's probably more extreme in your circumstance, right? Where again, like, don't forget, a lot of glitz and glamour is added to to the white collar game, the bells and whistles, because maybe it's a bucket list environment for someone. It's a once in a life opportunity to get that experience. But there is other people that bob on from there and become amateurs and pros and whatever. But the white collar game is, generally normally about raising money, right, for a charity or something. Bucket list. I want to, understand the experience of an extreme sport like boxing, right?
Highly
Which is,
recommended to everyone, by the way. You need
but
to do
yeah,
it.
but like you said, right, the adrenaline is rushing. It's like, you can liken it probably. You can liken jumping in a ring in the settings that you have, right, to a bungee jump or
Times
or
10.
or something similar, right? Because
It's
it
like a
really
6-minute bungee jump.
when that when that light when the announcer shouts your name out, hopefully correctly, and you
Never
hear
the
that
case.
bell and you hear that bell go, like it's just you and your opponent and the referee, and it's a very very
It's very intimate.
surreal experience, intimate, very surreal, right? So but yeah, you know, again, different experiences, different outcomes. But at the top of the game, they get good experience in that dealing with those emotions. But don't get me wrong, and this is another thing about boxing, which again in recent months it's been quite impressive, the amount of coaches that have been stopping fights, right? So there's been a lot of cases in recent times where there's not been a crowd, where coaches are starting to feel less compelled to let their fighters get absolutely demolished for 12 rounds. We're going back to the fact that, sometimes they know that their fighter is so far away from winning a fight, they can, throw the towel in correctly to save their fighter's health, but then also come again for another day. And referees the same, right? Referees seem to be, not doing them any disjustice, but they seem to be in these new environments where there's no crowds. It seems like they're far more on top of making sure that the fight is as fair as it can be inside the square circle, right? So
Yeah,
it's interesting because when you get to those mega fights and you get to those packed crowds and you get to those scenarios, there is a lot of stress on everyone involved in that fight. So the fighter, the referee, the coach, right, the judges, there is a lot of stress on everyone because imagine, forget the boxers, for example, the referee is an average Joe, maybe, right? They're not used to the limelight. They're very good at what they do. They're very good at officiating. They're very good at judging. They understand boxing. They understand what scores points. They understand what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing. But they're not. They might not be used to that big step up from a small hall fight to 20,000 people all shouting for the fighters in front of them, right? And it's and you can imagine how stressful that environment is for them, right?
for sure. And anything with a crowd, like you doing your
Exactly.
normal job, when someone just comes and one person, a manager maybe, comes and watches over you, there's
Yeah.
like a set of eyes. So imagine how many, like thousands of eyes on you
Again,
doing your daily job.
all those eyes as well. There's qualified, unqualified, subjective. It's a crazy environment. So again, I think that's why certain promoters have done so well in the in the last 5-6 years, because the way they put together their shows and the professionalism around how they put that together, the structure, you can really see the difference, right? So again, for a boxer, it's important that they're a part of the right promotions, they're a part of the right events, because that adds to their experience, that adds to their willingness to put their life on the line for their next career step, right? So yeah, it's very interesting dynamics, but that's what I mean. It just never you never stop learning in boxing. You probably never
For
stop
sure.
learning in any martial arts. But again, like I said, for people here that may be listening to you thinking I'm not that interested in boxing, if you take the boxing away, it's the same for anything in life, right? So you've got to you've got to apply yourself to learning your craft before you feel comfortable being the head of the table, or
For sure.
being the host, or and so on and so forth.
That formula applies to everything in life. Like you said,
Yeah.
it's just like we see all these videos of all these self-help gurus, and take a shortcut, make a million here, do nothing, all that crap. But the
Listen,
formula's right in front of us, man. In everything, you see it in sports. The person that works the hardest has more of a chance of being seen and getting to the next round of whatever they want to get to. It's a long, tough work, proven
it's funny,
formula with,
right?
with some smarts.
It's funny because again, I take it to a different sport, right? Let's give it some variance. The Messi Ronaldo debate is very very interesting, right? And again, I won't cast an opinion, but there's an interesting narrative in that, right? Which is worth someone with far greater scientific skills than mine to have a look at, in terms of the behavioral science of the football fan, maybe. But like, there's this overwhelming assumption that Ronaldo got to where he got to for working hard, and Messi got to where he got to based on a natural gift, right? You speak to people about those two, and one crowd will say, "Oh, Messi is a football phenomenon," but
That's me.
he's had it, but he's had it from birth, right? There's it's just natural. It's a natural gift. It's a God-given gift, right? And
Yeah.
then people will say, Ronaldo, wow, you can really see physically how he's worked on himself. You can see the hard work. You listen to the ex-pros that have played with him, first on the pitch, last on the pitch, all of that stuff. So you can see two very different narratives around hard work and gift, right?
Yeah.
It's a load of rubbish, right? Because for Messi to stay in the game for as long as he stayed in the game,
He's worked
he has
hard.
to work hard, right? He has to repeat what he does on the training field, on the actual pitch, right? Same as Ronaldo. For Ronaldo to achieve what he's achieved in football, yeah, he doesn't just work hard, right? The guy has, uh, a fantastic skill set, physically and what do you call
Technically.
it? Technically, that's the one, right? So it's a load of nonsense. Whether or not you're a fan of both, or one is better than the other. The argument is not to say one's worked harder than the other, because I would personally dismiss that. But again, it's perception, right? And you're talking about
Yeah.
probably the two best footballers in the last 2 decades, maybe.
For sure. I'm a obviously I'm a massive Messi fan. I'm a fan of both of them, but for me, Messi's the greatest. He's from another planet. But I will point to people that say Ronaldo didn't have the talent. Go watch his videos when he played for Sporting Lisbon and when he started playing for United. Look at the way he took on players, and look at the way he was more focused on showboating. And you need to have skill to be able to do that. I think Ronaldo reached a point in his career where he figured out they both did in a way. Messi figured out the formula of football, but Ronaldo figured out, if I score more goals, if I do maybe one move every few games, what that one move, they'll be like a great video clip. Like they'll take it out and they'll put in, football highlights for the month. Then I'll keep my loyal fan base happy, the ones that, fell in love with Ronaldo because of all the new skills he would do. But then at the same time, if I focus more on the goals and stuff, I will increase my personal brand. Like, he still gets assists and whatnot, but Messi plays the game for the beauty of the game, whereas Ronaldo does as well. You can't take that away from him. But I feel like Ronaldo figured out how
You-
to
You're
just
you're
win in football.
you're coming
He,
across very very biased on the Messi side, but at the end of the day, I'm not here to say who's better than the other. I think, yeah, most certainly from a purist football perspective, you can understand why everyone leans towards Messi, right? But if you look at their outputs, whatever decision they've made, They both score a lot of goals. They both make a lot of assists, and they both have a massive influence on their team success, right? So
For sure.
again, again, all of that summary that you provided, both of them can turn around and say to you, well, we're ticking all the boxes.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it
absolutely, absolutely, and
so,
that's what
so,
the beautiful thing.
you know, like I said, Ronaldo definitely wouldn't have prioritized social media before his goal output, right? It would have been a secondary it would have been a secondary benefit of being Ronaldo, right? His primary goal would be to perform on the pitch, and obviously, me personally, you know, as you know, I'm a United fan, right? I'm not trying to be biased.
Unfortunately.
I'm not trying to be biased towards Ronaldo. What I'm saying is the people around him when he got to United channeled his skill set and technical sort of technical ability so that it then ended up as end product on the pitch. They didn't necessarily say to him that skill is, you know, a negative, but he needs to utilize the skill to bring the squad in. Because again, football is a team sport, right? They can't do
For
it
sure.
by themselves. They can't do it by themselves. But most certainly, having them in your team improves your chances of winning twofold, right?
No
So
argument there.
yeah, exactly. But yeah, again, just to make it a bit more understandable if you're not in the fight industry.
It's just finishing off on the football discussion. Regardless of whether you're a Ronaldo or Messi fan, I think we've been extremely lucky to be living in this time to see them both perform at their best. I've been lucky enough to see them both live. It's just a beautiful thing to look back. Like great examples. Andrea Pirlo, a very personal favorite footballer of mine because he lacked so much on the physical side. But he just showed, or someone like Xavi, people that weren't necessarily known for their physique, but technically and tactically just brilliant to watch. Pirlo, I'm still upset to this day that I can't turn the TV on and watch him play. I have to go watch old highlights. So appreciate
Yeah.
what you have, guys. They're not going to be around forever. Try and go watch a game if you can. But Jared, I wanted to touch upon one more thing on boxing. We
Mm.
will end on boxing as well because I want to discuss some fights and fighters.
Yeah, that's
But
cool.
one key thing is I again, this is something that the common person outside of boxing doesn't know. What is a journeyman, in your opinion? What I think a journeyman is someone that, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's someone that isn't going to be a champion, um, someone that's kind of in those mid levels, but they use a journeyman to make a future champion look good. So the guy is essentially there to not forcefully. I mean, I don't know. Some people might take a payday, but the guy is there to make the other fighter look good. As a result, takes a lot of punishment. And me and you both know, unfortunately, one of the sad things about boxing is the concussions, the brain
Mm.
damage that comes along. I mean, I've fought at such a lower level compared to these pro guys who basically fight every week in the gym, and I had headaches after my fight, or not even the fights. It's a training. I had headaches after my training. I, I couldn't go to sleep some days. I would slur my words after, heavy sparring sessions. So it's that
That's
amplified for
not
the
good.
professionals.
That's not
Huh?
good. That's not
Not
good.
at all. Not at
Yeah,
all.
it's
So
not good.
what do
Yeah,
these journeymen go through?
that is definitely sounds like signs of concussion. But yeah, no. So journeyman again, you've given a good armchair view, right? So no disrespect. It's a good armchair view, but again, if you rub shoulders with the sport long enough, you'll share the ring with some of these guys, right? You might share the gym with some of these guys. Um, let's say paint you a picture. You're 15, 16 years old, right? So in the gym, 8 years before I ever stepped in the gym, you've built up a really strong capability in boxing, right? You know the ring inside out, right? You know what your strengths are, you know what your weaknesses are. Now, unfortunately for you, along that journey, right, you've not been able to um, win something meaningful, which means that someone's come along and they often say the golden ticket, right? As someone's come along, because you're talking about journeyman only exists in the pro game, right? Um, Someone's come along and they say, here, Heerbz, I want you to sign up to Jason Archer Promotions. Here's $1 million to get you going. We're going to get you the best trainer, the best equipment, etc., etc., etc. Right? That's known as the golden ticket. To get there, you need to do something really meaningful in amateur boxing, right? Because they wouldn't give the golden ticket to someone that no one's ever seen before, or they don't know what you're capable of, right? It's common
Yeah.
sense. So as a journeyman, let's say you've always been on the fringes of um, being the best in, again, like I said, in your gym, or being the best in your area, or being the best in your um, geography, or being the best in the country. You've been on the fringes. You've never made it to the Olympic team. You've never made it to the London team, or wherever, right? Wherever you're based, but you've been on the fringes. You're that good a fighter that whenever you step in the ring, the opponent knows they need to be on their A game, right? But unfortunately, they turn up on their A game. You don't get the medal, right? So that's a picture to paint, right? This guy, this woman that we're talking about, right? Because they exist now in the women's game, but you've got people that know boxing, but no one's come to them and said, right, here's your golden ticket. So they go on multiple journeys, right? But for me to get into a small hall show, I need to be able to sell tickets. So no
Yeah.
one knows me. I'm a competent boxer. The big promoters are only interested in the big acts, right? Or the most promising talent. So for me, I still think I can achieve something in boxing. So even for someone with that mindset, they need to be able to sell a lot of tickets, right? Because here's the thing. You want to fight on my small hall show, and unless you want to, and again, in the pro game, you need to build your CV, right? So, unfortunately, as a professional, you can't come into the pro game and lose 3 out of your first 5 fights, right? It's not like the amateurs, right?
It's very
Like,
unforgiving in boxing as well in comparison to MMA.
exactly, right? So the fan base, they very quickly ignore you unless in 10 years time you do something major, right? But so for you to get into the boxing game, you need to worry about your promotional deal, right? So if I sell 100 tickets, the promoter in a small hall will most certainly want a large part of that profit that you're making, right? Because they're giving you the platform. Then they'll say to you, right, do you want a 50-50 fight? If you want a 50-50 fight, then you don't need to pay for an opponent. We'll get you someone similar to you. You both go and sell tickets. We'll take the proceeds from that and we'll leave you what we can. And then you take a 50-50, and every fight that you fight in your first 10-15 fights is a hard war, a battle of skill or battle of will, whatever, right? That just doesn't happen, right? Because people need to be able to build their CV.
Yeah.
So the journeyman comes into the equation. Me as an aspiring boxer with no coverage, I need to be able to pay the journeyman, pay my promoter, and still have money to make a living. Because if I want to make it in boxing, we go back to the stuff we said about hard work, changing your luck. There's not enough hours in the day to have 5 professions, make money, feed your family, or feed your dreams, let's say. So then you've got a decision to make, right? Crap. Do I believe in myself enough to go on this journey, probably be skint for 3-4 years, and chip away at the prospect of not earning no money, but getting myself into a position where someone then says, this guy can do it, right? Leap of faith, right?
Yeah.
So journeyman, right? Again, to sort of go back to what you said at the start, they're very capable athletes and they're very capable boxers, but they may decide very early on, the only way for me to make money from my skill set is to be a journeyman, right? Which means Heerbz comes along, Heerbz got his first fight coming up. He's got 100 fans already. He's gonna pay me to give him a good run out. So although they'll say, no one said to the journeyman, you can't beat this guy or you can't give him a good solid shot. But then the journeyman doesn't get a payday next week if he knocks out this prospect.
Right. Right.
Because then
Yeah.
everyone knows the prospects, because ultimately the prospects team will pick the journeyman based on their experience or based on what's offered to them from the promoter. Hey, you've got 3 options. This guy, 33 losses, 4 wins. This guy, blah, blah, blah. They look into the detail. They look into the attributes and they see what's the risk they want to take. Because the journeyman will come in the ring to defend their health. They're not going to let you knock them out. They're not going to let you smash them to pieces. They're going to keep you honest. But for journeymen to make money, they generally won't try and knock out the prospect, or they're happy to win on points, to be honest with you, because as part of defending yourself, you need to have an attack, right?
Yeah.
So again, to summarize and to bring to life what I'm trying to say is a journeyman is a very capable athlete, very capable boxer, but because of the hurdles that are in your way as an unknown prospect in boxing and the amount of commitment you need to make to that journey, a lot of them decide you can make a healthy living out of being a journeyman. So I give you an example. As a journeyman, I fight, 12 times a year, right, which is once every month, and I get paid £1,500, £2,000, right? That is a pretty decent additional income into my account, right?
Yeah.
Journeyman will always have another living. They won't be a journeyman and just be a journeyman in boxing. They'll always have another living or another way of making money. Maybe a PT, maybe a coach, But they'll get in the ring because they know they've got the ability, and they'll take people on that are new on that journey. That's why, to a point in boxing, you don't get journeyman. Once someone is an established pro, then they start climbing the competitive ranks of fighting for area belts, British titles, and European titles and world honors, right? Because once you make that move into that setup, you can't go back. So the journeyman for the professional prospect with the right things going their way is their CV builder, their learning curve. But someone starting out fresh, they've got 2 options to make. They can either commit themselves, have some really dark days, but know that in 3 years' time, my North Star, my goal is that in 3 years' time, I'm going to have a 12-0 record and people are going to pay attention to me, right?
Yeah.
Or it's like, you know what? I'm so good at this boxing game. I'm going to make some money out of it because I haven't got 100 fans to buy tickets from me. I haven't got money to be paying a journeyman £1,500. So I'm going to be the journeyman. I'm going to keep my opponents honest and I'm going to stay safe. The only issue I've got with journeymen is that the ones that go in there and take punishment. Yeah, because
Yeah.
ultimately, like you said, if that's occurring on a monthly basis, it's only going to go one way, right?
Yeah.
As you know, right, the best of the best, they fight. Once they get there, they fight every 6 months. They fight every 4 months. They have time to recover, time to recuperate, time to work on something new. Journeymen are in there, as somewhere in there as often as every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
When the game is on fire, and you've got all of the small promoters doing their thing and making boxing relevant to the local audience, the journeyman could be in there every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
If they don't get stopped, they're signed off. They can fight again within 30 days. If they get knocked out, they have to wait 30 days, and then that impacts their income. So journeymen will never want to be knocked out because it impacts their income. But that's just a bit of insight into the journeyman, right? It's not someone that goes in there to take punishment. It's someone that goes to earn a living because they haven't got the opportunity to be the sort of shining star.
I appreciate the explanation.
Yeah.
It's no, it's interesting to know, man. Obviously, you don't want people to take punishment. You know the sad side of the sport. But saying you mentioned another living, how they have another living. Speaking of another living,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to touch base on you as an entrepreneur, and I love that you've done this. It really makes me happy, and like training with you, I know the passion that you have for boxing because you've seen what it does for people. You've seen how it gets people's negative energy and focuses it on something positive, something to improve on. And then we have other elements, which is weight loss, mental health again, improving someone's confidence, improving the way they feel about their body by training hard, overcoming obstacles. As a result of that, and I want to see that hoodie again, please. You started J Sinatra Fitness, which I was incorrectly calling J Star Fitness at some point.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I had to ignore the ignore the voice next to it. That J Star Fitness man. I was like, what the hell? This guy
so
forgot his reading glasses.
I knew that I obviously knew what your passion for the sport was, and
Yeah.
you're a great trainer as well. So I had a you communicated really well, even though I didn't listen in fights. Um, but you finally applied this. So take me through what made you kind of decide to start Jason Ultra Fitness. What's it been like? And more importantly, one of the things I do want to touch on is kind of, damn, I forgot my question. Can it be that? Okay, you start with that until I think of the question. So, what made you start this?
No worries. Keep scratching your head. It will come. Yeah. So Jason Ultra Fitness. It's again like an opportunity for me to channel my passion for fitness sport, but my USP is centered around boxing, right? Because um, again, what boxing is this eternal learning cycle, and so because of that there's so many attributes to it that I can include in fitness, which means that whether you're into boxing or not, people enjoy the activities that we sort of set the task that we set them in their sessions. Now, in terms of the reason why I done it is a I didn't have a glittering amateur boxing career. I stayed in the gym for a decent amount of time, right? So from 22 to recent years, but because of my own commitments outside of the ring, I was in there, 3 or 4 months of the year and then out of it for the majority, but missed it like hell when I wasn't there.
Yeah,
But I got to, even on the scale of that I was in the gym, I got to rub shoulders with some amazing athletes, some amazing boxers, and for me that was a fulfilling experience, right? But I knew that at 22, 23, unless you're a big boy like or girl, sorry, but the heavyweights, I think you get away with starting late. As a middleweight, you're really in a really sort of difficult situation, right?
it
Because
gets more technical as a way to get lighter. Do you not
it,
feel?
it's not that it gets more technical, but it really you definitely are fighting at a different pace, right? And
Yeah,
because you're
for
fighting at a
sure.
different pace, skill is quite important, right? And I suppose that there's plenty of heavyweight that is very very technical, but like I said, I think again the point I was going to make about that is there's the population, the density of how many people are middleweight compared to the heavyweights is very vastly different. So in a gym, you'd have a lot more boys around those more common weights than you would around the sort of heavier or the very, very light, right? So in this middle ground, right? So I don't know um, what the sort of ergonomics or whatever it will be, but you definitely get more sort of 75 70 kg 80 kg men in a gym than you would 95 100 kg. Similarly,
Yeah,
you wouldn't get as many 60 65 unless it's the youngsters coming up, and that's before they grow. So for me, my falling in love with the sport, how could I sort of maintain that, keep that going, right? And that was in understanding more about the game, and then seeing where I could leverage that to support other people, right? And that's not to say that everyone that I coach or train are boxers, whether they're white collar amateur or not. It's to say that the USP around boxing is a really good device for everyone. So I train a lot of mums, for example, that
Yeah,
have very stressful sort of time juggling their parenting commitments as well as their financial commitments, as well as keeping on top of their health, and what have you. And boxing seems to really be a way for them to sort of learn something new, lose the pounds or the weight that they want to lose, put on the muscle that they want to put on, and then also a way for them to deal with some of the mental challenges that are going on, right? So let off some steam, let's say. So there's really so many things that you can do with it, which left me to say, look, I need to grab this opportunity to transition my passion into giving others the opportunity to learn a bit around boxing, but also the fitness. That's why I done it, and happy I did, because it's very very like sort of fulfilling, and there's a million different directions you can take it over time, right?
for sure.
um so you just got to keep growing, that same thing, right? Just there's unlimited learning that you need to take yourself on that journey.
Yeah, and I'm really happy you did it, man. I've seen I've been one of the testimonials as well, but the
Yeah.
people that have been in the classes, me personally, I've benefited so much from training with you, and the fact that you kind of took the focus slightly out of just a male focused boxing gym type of environment to a more commercial, and like you said, there's a lot of moms in your classes, and
Mm.
focusing on the day-to-day people that kind of want that boxing fitness exposure. They want the challenges of boxing, but necessarily don't want to go sparring every Sunday and lose some brain cells the way I
Yeah.
did. But
Yeah.
the question I did have, but please go on, and then I remember that question.
No, I was gonna say, like, you I also need to recognize that for the people that want to be um in the ring and on that journey for with becoming accomplished boxers, for example, you need to realize, like, as I had in my journey, is they need to go to the right coach, they need to go to the right trainer. So I'm at the start of that coaching journey. For those people that are a bit more experienced, or for those people that are at that level, I need to pass them to the right person for them again. So that's why it's important to have a good network around you as well.
For sure.
And that's one of the things that I stress to people, is after I've done that assessment of their skill, because a lot of people come to you and they say, I've done boxing before, and then the first thing that they think you're going to do is put them on the pads, right?
Yeah.
But the pads is the glamorous part of boxing, and I know a lot of people will be able to agree here around, some people look great on pads, and then you give them something technical without them, and all the wheels fall off. Or in your example earlier, they get chucked into the ring, and just because they can hit a pad doesn't mean they can hit a moving object,
Yeah.
right? So again, you need to be able. The other thing that I do a lot is
Boards don't hit back, Bruce Lee.
yeah, I leverage the network to say, look, if someone comes at a certain level, I push them on to the right people, because one day I'll be that person that will be at that level, right?
Yeah.
Fire away
Mm.
with your question before you forget it.
No, I got it now. So it's more we covered Jared, the the passionate boxing fan. I want to speak to Jared, the entrepreneur now.
Yeah.
And this is important for anyone that's watching this into making that transition, because look, it's not easy. You know, you work in a bank,
Yeah.
you're obviously exhausted, and you've got commitments outside of work, personal commitments.
Mm.
You are a busy person, but yet you've still found the time to create. Look, like your hoodie, for example, you've created. It's easy to go and stand in a park. Not easy, of course. I don't want to kind of look down on anyone. It's not easy, but like someone can go in the park and start training people. That's difficult as it is,
Yeah.
but to put that into a package and turn it into a brand, maintain social media, and then have all your different plans for what you're going to train people in, because it's not the same thing training with you. It's always different. People feel challenged. I feel challenged all the time. So what advice do you have for people that have their ideas right now? Because all of us have a million ideas. I'm sure a million people thought of Uber, but there's only one Uber. Well, there's Lyft as well and the other ones, but execution is key. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
what
You
is
need
your
to
advice to
you need to
entrepreneurs
have
or people that want to
yeah,
follow their passion?
yeah. I think you need to have you have to have, and I think this is me. I'm stealing with pride here, but someone said this to me, very recently, and I've heard it before, right? But in if you're in a competitive market, which in these days, like you just said, right, Uber are in a competitive market already, right? They came through, but they've opened the doors to many competitors. You need to have substance, right? So you need to tick the basics, right? So Uber example, Uber is only you can only compete with Uber if you've got a very compelling app on your phone. Yeah, you've got a
Yeah.
very compelling service that you can bring to the table, right? So that's your substance, but you also need to have style. If every Uber was a 1990, Nissan, or shouldn't have quoted the make, but if it was like yeah, edit that out before I get sued. But if it was like a car from the 80s or the 90s, right? People carriers from those days, or if it didn't have, let's just say, um, now with the environmental challenges that the world is facing, if the Ubers weren't, for instance, electric, yeah, right, they didn't have that sort of vibe going on. The consumers may say, actually, I'm not going to go for this company because they're actually damaging the environment, or they use very old cars. I don't feel special, So there's different levels of of what's the word here? Um,
Quality of product, or
yeah, quality, but it's the experience, right? Some people
yeah.
like to feel like they're being chauffeured. Some people like to just quick in and out. Yeah, that's that, right? In that industry, what I'm saying here is, in the fitness industry, you've got a market which is very dense, right? Particularly in London, where I'm based, and you need to have something that you can develop over time, which has your own style, something that people can remember. And that's where you start competing with not only the personal trainers or the fitness coaches, or the coaches, your peer groups, but you're also competing against the big brands, right? So in a city, for example, there's a lot of big fitness brands that are very well established doing their thing, and they've got a very good uh, economic sort of machine behind them, right? With all the advertising and what have you, whatever. So for you as an entrepreneur, whether it's fitness, whether it's the Uber example, or something completely different, you must have as much style as you had substance, so that people can see a USP in what you're doing.
So
Otherwise,
stand out.
otherwise I might as well go to the person that does stand out, or the person that is appealing to everyone else, because I can see so and so is using this service more than they're using your service, right? So it's very competitive environment, and what people don't realize is, you start off giving a free service. You don't start off charging money straight away, right? Because you yourself need to find the right way to execute what it is that you want to do, and you're not going to be able to charge people if they don't know who you are.
Yeah.
So you need to come into the game giving something away to get that foothold, and then once you get that foothold, you can start to establish. But I don't think, if anyone looks me up after this, I'm not doing anything extremely well. I'm managing it based on my complexities, right? I've got other stuff going on, but this is a passion of mine and something that I'm building slowly. I'm taking the slow train, not the fast train. If you're taking the fast train, it still applies substance and style. You have to get both right, because otherwise you either look like everyone else, or you know, you haven't got the knowledge to take people on the right journeys.
Yeah, and just to relate this to the fight game, a great example of someone, there's so many fighters. Why did Conor McGregor become as big as he is? Why did he change the fight game for everyone? Why did everyone get paid way more? Because he understood, just like another person I truly love, Chael Sonnen. They understood the art of entertainment. It's not just about fighting. You want to sell tickets. You want to be popular. That's how you get paid more. So on top of being a good fighter, which let's translate that to anyone in their normal life, on top of being, being good at your normal daily job or your passion or whatever it is you want to sell, on top of being really good at that, you need the elements that can make you stand out. In the case of fighting, it's taking a page out of Vince McMahon, WWE's book, and selling a story. And that is why, no matter what people say about Conor McGregor's fighting ability, which is still great, I mean, you can't discredit how good he is, but he understood how to put asses in seats. And he understood that, okay, if I play this bad guy, if I wear these colorful shirts, if I act like Pablo Escobar and El
It's,
Chapo, I sell it.
yeah, yeah, it's hilarious that you say that, right? And the reason why I'm chopping in is because in his most extreme fight or flight moment, in his most difficult time in the octagon, I remember, I never forget this, right? When he was on the way to being defeated by you pronounce his name better.
Nate Diaz, Khabib Nurmagomedov.
There we go. The latter, right? When he was being defeated by Khabib, right? Say his surname.
Nurmagomedov.
Very, very impressive. So when he was
He's from the
being
same region, man. Come on.
when he was being defeated by that guy, who is a lot of substance, less of the style, right?
Yeah.
But you hear him say something to him, which is something along the lines of,
It's just business.
it's just business,
Yeah.
or you know. And I will never forget that, because where Connor tried to take that guy was away from the substance into the style around, like you said, being loud, wearing the Larry shirts, looking the part, but also, trying to draw him into a bit of a back and forth around sort of like, where you're from, your cultural beliefs, and blah, blah, blah. Now, it's interesting because in that moment of truth where he's saying to him, it's just business, he's basically saying, look, I only done these things to draw in the numbers, to draw
Yeah.
in the crowd. I don't believe in anything I've done. It was just for this moment to get paid, right?
Yeah.
And it's so interesting that you made that link. But yeah, it's fascinating, right? Because one guy in that octagon was very businesslike in his execution because of the substance and the knowledge he had in the fight game. The other guy, who's a sensational fighter himself, who had probably spent too much attention pre-fight on style,
Yeah.
and ended up submitting and losing, right? But yeah,
It's
he carries such a weight now in the fight game that he can just switch over to boxing and have a mega boxing fight, right?
he
It's
changed the game, transcended into
yeah,
pop culture, let's say.
yeah. And the thing is, I take my hat off to these guys. Like I don't envy them. As an onlooker, you have to do what you have to do to meet your expectations of yourself, right? So Conor McGregor certainly is a guy that has wanted to and has achieved making big money out of the fight game, right?
Yeah.
And so
Power to him.
exactly. Well done. He succeeded in that. So again, everyone can say I don't like what he does, and to a certain degree, I agree. If you go too far, then it's a big stain on your reputation, your own brand. but he got there in that fashion. So at the end of the day, he set a goal and he achieved it.
Yeah, and it's awesome. And before we dive into the final topic and discuss a few fighters and whatnot,
Yeah.
I do want to end Jay Sinatra Fitness on one more thing. What's the next step for Jay Sinatra Fitness? What do you plan? Where do you plan on taking this, or is it just let's just see
Yeah,
how it goes?
yeah. At the moment, if you look at it, the way I look at it is, it's at the moment it's not my main source of income. So it's what do we say? Side hustle. So
Yeah,
right now, I'm out there hustling, making making it make sense for me. But you know, I I haven't really, because of the year that we've had, you need to adapt and evolve. And this year, I've been doing lots of stuff like online fitness, for example, right? Zoom calls instead of face to face. And it's new experiences that I've been able to bank and say, look, this could be something to keep my eye on and what have you. But I've been super impressed by other people, really, like the way people have adapted, evolved, and made it stick. There's been
yeah,
so many people that have done that through this particular sort of last 12 months with the stuff around social distancing and stuff. So for me, it's about when I get the opportunity to go back to the gyms, go back to running the classes, I need to say to myself, what have I learned from this last 12 months that I need to bring into those environments, touch wood that they come back, because then I can make a business decision on, right, where do I want to take this now, because I've seen both sides of the coin. And also I need a moment of reflection to say, has everyone returned to my class, or are now people become their own fitness experts? Because the last 12 months people have been on a journey of self-learning, because I
yeah,
haven't got someone in my room or in my environment to sort of coach me. I need to look online, and then you see people doing the online fitness classes and probably just YouTube, right? So all of that stuff, you need to recalculate what is the opportunity that is in front of you and work out. I need to work out personally what I want to do. I am a huge fan um, of both one-to-one and group fitness. So I really like it when you get those group environment, everyone pushing each other. But in the last 12 months, a lot of it has been very, very sort of one-to-one, very personal, and that's the approach. But let's see what comes up. I'm going to keep my eye on the opportunities, and that's the most important thing to take away from all this waffle, is that if you're in any environment, you need to make sure that you roll the dice on the opportunity that you see, because if you don't, you're last in the queue, right?
that's a soundbite, people. That's a
Yeah,
soundbite of the episode.
yeah. You're at the back of the queue asking to get in.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. And I mean, super thankful for everything you've done with Jason Ultra Fitness, and I can't wait to kind of
Get
be
back,
there in person. Yeah, get back, be there in person, and
and
really sweat off these COVID lockdown pounds I've been putting on. But
yeah, the
that's
lockdown lamb shanks you've been eating.
big time, right? I mean, what can you do, man? No more fighting nowadays. Final thing, let's talk fighters. Mainly my boy, as you said, who's fighting tonight, I believe. So by the time this episode gets released, he would have already fought.
Yeah.
Now it's a mandatory fight with a some Turkish fellow that
No,
apparently
don't do
lost his
that.
last fight.
Don't do that. Say his name. Say his name.
Actually, I forgot his name. I'm sorry. What's his name?
I believe it's his surname is Yedim, something along
Yim.
those lines.
Hey man,
Get your
I've got the I'm a big supporter of the Turks. Come on, I mean
this
I'm
this fight
Turkish Persian.
this fight crept up too quickly for me to even pay attention to it. I'll be honest. It kind of just happened. Um, I've,
Yeah,
I've I've been following some British fighters over the last few months, but the Canelo This one caught up on me right very quickly. But the gentleman that he's fighting has had a
Abni
fight.
Yildirim. That's his
Yeah,
name.
yeah. So that guy, if you look at his record, he's got a loss already to Chris Eubank Jr. in the
Oh wow.
in the World Super Series. So that should be the same guy, right?
Yeah, it is. It is the same guy. That's actually very surprising because that means he's being led to the slaughterhouse tonight.
Well, so again, the way that boxing works is there's a lot of governing bodies, and because he's mandatory, right? So it's not like it's a weird one because he's not a name that you would associate with a big fight with Canelo, but he's mandatory. And coming off the back of the fight with Callum Smith, Canelo has accepted the mandatory, as you have to do, right? Occasionally, you have to take on your mandatory challenger. Now, this gentleman, how he is the mandatory is a formula that I obviously don't follow, because the fact that he's lost to um, some fighters that are at the level where they are means that that fighter surely is a more worthy opponent than he is, but it hasn't worked out that way. So knowing what I know around the two gentlemen, um, I think that Canelo should have a not an easy night's work, because does that exist? I'm not sure, but he should be in control. And
Yeah.
a Canelo that's in control is a dangerous one, because that means that he's going to be really sort of focused on executing a dangerous game plan. I don't think this fight goes the distance, and probably doesn't go halfway through the fight, right? So could be a early night's work for your boy.
Let's see. I mean, Yildirim is actually 14 to 1 underdog. So if you are a gambling man and if you put £100 on that, on him to win, you would lose £100. But let's see how it turns out. Man, we've been talking for quite a bit.
What's the time?
So I don't know. It's oh yeah, 10 to 6. Wow, been a while.
When start?
Did we start at like 3? I can't see the time here. Doesn't
No,
matter. It's flew by.
no.
Anyways, I want to have you on for further episodes because
Yeah.
I want to get into some fighting breakdowns because we are
Yes.
both massive
We-
fans.
yeah, we can definitely set it up so we can go away and have a look at some upcoming fights, and then
Yeah,
try
maybe
and
do
break
a
them
fighters
down.
podcast.
Yeah, break them down. But yeah, are you stopped recording now?
No, no, I'm still recording.
Okay.
But no, no. Before I stop the recording, I do want to say thank you very much for coming on, and I really enjoyed this conversation. I mean, especially with like increasing my boxing knowledge, and anyone that's watching this and seeing how you can apply things from different fields. It doesn't just have to be boxing. You can go learn something from a florist and apply it to your day-to-day job. There's so many skills that overlap other areas of life. And Jared, you've kind of shed some light on some of the interesting things about boxing, and also just where can people find you? So you've got Jason Sinatra Fitness's Instagram, right? Is that the only platform they can reach out?
Yeah, at the moment, if you need to find me, if you want to reach out,
I'll tag it at the description of
yeah,
this video.
yeah,
But
just follow the
if
page.
you are in London,
Yeah,
you do not want to miss out on this. His sessions are intense.
yeah.
You'll
I agree.
definitely break
Yeah,
a sweat,
yeah,
and he will really push you. I'm we're pretty much family, and he does not treat me like I'm family. So
no, no fair treatment there. But yeah, please reach out if anyone, if anyone, please, even if you want to reach out for a row, let me know. No, I'm joking. I was saying to Heerbz that again, the subjective nature of boxing, you get so many people with so many different views that hopefully uh, the masses agree with some of the stuff that I say. But if you don't agree, I apologize in advance.
No, thank you for your time, and I'll look forward to the next episode.
That's it. Wicked.
All right,
Catch you
cheers.
later.